There we go. And thank you for everyone, for those who introduced themselves in the chat. If you still wanted to do that, please go ahead. So this is the Café Fellows informational webinar. And this is a program that we're launching this coming kind of school year 2024-2025. And you can connect with us online through our website, teensciencecafe.org. We have some older resources there to access. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and we also record some of our professional development webinars and have them up on our YouTube channel if you're looking for more content. So I'll let Katie start off with introducing herself.
Hi, I'm the first Katie of our group. My name is Katie Amon. I'm the director of this network. And I've been in this job for almost 2 years. And before that, I worked at a natural science museum for many, many years. And a lot of that time there, I worked with science cafes, and that's how I have come to be doing this. And I love science cafes; they're very dear to my heart. And so I'm so happy that all of you are interested in doing this at your sites. I'll pass it to Kristen.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kristen Bands. I'm the manager of network engagement for the Teen Science Cafe Network. And I'm located in Portland, Oregon. My job is to take care of all of the cafe adult leaders once they become full members. And in my former life, I was a museum educator and I facilitated teen groups as well.
Hello, everybody. I'm the other Katie. My background is in zoos and aquariums, as you can see by my picture, working with both animal care and in the education field most recently. I did a lot of teen programming, and including doing a cafe at a local site in South Texas along the Gulf Coast. And during my time that I was helping to run the cafe, I also evaluated it for my master's research. And now I'm here at the network level and very happy to see you all with us on this call. Oh, sorry. My role within the Cafe Network is I will be one of the guides that'll help teach and guide you in supporting new cafes that start up and getting running off the ground.
And I'm Claudia. I'm the other guide with the network. And Katie and I are typically the ones that are going to be with you for this fellowship duration. And my background is with art and science museums and after school programs. And on the side, I actually also painted parade floats. So fun fact. All right. We'll throw it back to Katie Amon to explain sort of what the network is.
Okay. So before the rest of the team goes over exactly what goes into a Science Cafe program, and also about this new opportunity that we have, the Fellows, Teen Science Cafe Fellows, I want to step back a little bit and talk about the Teen Cafe model. And this is the network has been started over 15 years ago. And so we've spent those years refining this model and come to the place where it really has 3 components to it. The first, what's missing the words, unfortunately, in the pink part, usually, it's the first part, there we go, is promotes teen leadership and empowerment. The first audience or first group of people that's really important to have, and obviously in this, to make it successful and sustainable, are your teen leadership groups. And these are the young people who are in charge of designing this program. And they learn, not only they are empowered to, sort of own the program. This is really something that is designed by teens for teens. And they can develop leadership skills and also can feel what it feels like to really be in charge of something. The second audience are the teens that are the audience for these programs. And these are teens that are diverse. They come from all different backgrounds. And we hope they are teens that maybe are thinking that science isn't for them and discover that, yes, it is something that's very accessible for them and that they can see futures in STEM careers. And this is one of the neat parts about this kind of program, is that The third audience, the blue circle, are those STEM experts and you all, the adult leaders that help connect the team program to the rest of the community. And so all together, all working together, this is a wonderful kind of program to have at your sites because of all of the people that it touches. And as a network, we would like to spread these cafe programs across the country. And we have them in probably about 26 states now. And we're part of an NSF grant, or it is an NSF grant that funds us to do this. And so we are just so really happy that everybody is interested in coming to this webinar today. So just to let you in on what a program is at the ground level, I'm going to pass it to the other Katie to start talking about what is a Teen Science Cafe program exactly.
Thank you. So really what this program is all about, as Katie said, was really something by teens and for teens. So what this looks like is some sort of out of school time program. We know that there are a variety of you with different backgrounds on this call, and in our network already, we have a variety of different institutions and organizations that lead these. So really anything that is just not in a classroom based during school time setting, because we want science to be comfortable and accessible and casual for the students. So something that gives that kind of a vibe. And then the components are really the teens, the leaders who are helping to choose topics that they want to learn about, find STEM experts, help host those events, adult leaders who would be you or perhaps a colleague of yours to help kind of guide those teens. They may not have all those leadership skills already, so for you to kind of help guide them and give them opportunities to develop leadership skills. And then the STEM experts who would be invited in to come and collaborate and discuss and do hands-on activities with the teens. So really just a holistic look at how can we make STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics tangible and comfortable in real life for these teens in sort of all shapes and sizes. As I said, so just to kind of, thank you. To give an example of what a teen cafe could look like, this is an example from one of the cafes that I helped to run. And so our teens, they lived along the Gulf Coast, very environmentally conscious, particularly about the health of the Gulf, as they were, interested in fishing and swimming. Their families all lived there. It's a huge part of your life. And so they're obviously concerned about the health of that. And so they brought up the topics of learning more about that. We found an expert. We reached out to the expert. We planned our event. The teens were really integral in saying, we would love to learn about this topic. Let's reach out to this person. They helped pick out snacks for the night. And then when the expert came, we had them share with the teens as to what their research was. So for this particular night, it was Dr. Jessica Dutton. She is a professor at Texas State University, and she does research on bioaccumulation of heavy metals in top predators, particularly sharks. And what that means in particular usually is mercury. The Gulf Coast is a big oil producing area for the nation and for the world. And one of the byproducts of pumping oil out of the Gulf is mercury is usually leached into the water. And so looking at the amount of mercury in animals like sharks, we can see how that can impact a whole ecosystem and by extension, all the people who live along it. So it's really important research to know for the health of the oceans and for the people along the coast. So she shared about that research. She showed pictures. She brought equipment from her lab. The kids got to ask her questions. They found out about what her career path was, what got her interested into science, kind of what maybe steps they could take if they wanted to do something like that and follow a similar educational or career path. And then we did a hands-on activity together where they did a shark dissection, and she was able to actually show exactly how she took those tissue samples to then be analyzed in a lab, and the kids got to do tissue samples with her. And so it was just a really cool way for them to see science and to see research, how it is performed in real life, in a way that they can apply to their own lives and environment that they see and live with, you know, every day. And the teams were really involved in every step of the way with the planning and identifying the topic, coordinating with the speaker, hosting the night with the snacks and the setup and the activities, and then sort of moving on with the thank yous and the wrap-ups afterwards. And for most cafes, in addition to the teams that help plan, we also then open it up to team guests who want to come and just learn about the night. So sometimes you have teams that are maybe interested in being part of the program in smaller ways. So those that'll help plan, and then those that are just interested, and then maybe you can spark them into becoming future planners as well, and kind of grow your cafe community that way. But it was a really engaging night. But that's kind of how like a typical cafe could work. But one of the great things about this program is that it's really flexible. And there's a whole variable ways of how cafes can be held. But that's how it looks like for us, and how it looks like for quite a few different cafes as well.
All right, so a little bit more about what the fellowship program entails. So the fellowship program runs pretty much around a school year, September to June. We have a stipend that's paid in 2 halves. The total amount of the stipend is $2,500. And the purpose of this stipend and this program is to jumpstart teen science cafes across the country. We are hoping that these cafes that are started, as we hope with all of our cafes, continue on after their first year. And we're really hoping and looking for longevity of programs to join the network and the over 50 cafes across the country we currently have. You will receive one-on-one support from Claudia and Katie during this whole entire process. We ask that you host 3 cafe events by the end of May 2025. And to attend some virtual cohort meetings. And the virtual cohort meetings are for you to get to know each other, to talk about your struggles, to talk about your strengths, to troubleshoot, to talk about the TNC values and how they're applying to your cafe. Anything that comes up that you need assistance with, that's what those virtual cohort meetings are for. And then after you've completed all of those requirements, then you graduate and become a member of the Teen Science Cafe Network, and then you have a host of other opportunities that are available to you at that point in time as well. So who's eligible to become a Cafe Fellow? So we are looking for folks who want to be the adult leader, like Katie was for her cafe, in running the program, being on the ground with the teens throughout the duration of the program. The person who is filling out the application for the fellow program does not necessarily have to be the adult leader, but we want the adult leader to be going through the Cafe Fellowship program itself. Any person who is in STEM or STEM adjacent or STEAM in after-school sites, libraries, museums, universities, research institutions, zoos, aquaria, community centers, anything that's in a non-school environment, we accept. And we want specifically to be reaching grades 9 through 12. This is not a middle school program. This is for high school students. So we want people to apply who are working directly with teens and serving teens.
So some important dates just to keep in mind. First, the application dates. Oops. The applications are online through a Google form, and they're due August 1st. During August 2nd and August 16th window, the team, the network might reach out to you for some more information if we need it, if we think that we just have some questions regarding your application, and we'll do a short interview with you. Again, this is going to be a case-by-case basis. It won't necessarily be every single application. Recipients will be notified by August 23rd. And we ask that you submit your signed agreement by August 29th. It's going to be a really quick jump start into this. The program itself is going to start in September. So September 5th, we have scheduled our first virtual onboarding, which is required. And there we're going to go into more detail about all of the other requirements that we have. We're going to have physical dates for you to put in your calendar for these virtual cohort meetings that are going to occur in October, January, and April. And tentatively, we have scheduled an in-person gathering. It's kind of a celebration of sorts in June of 2025. So regarding the program itself, there are several requirements that we ask of you, the adult leader, to complete. They're not all going to happen at once. So the first chunk will be to attend the onboarding and to conduct a little bit of training. Katie and I are going to lead you through the training. Part of the training is an asynchronous module online. It's about 1 to 2 hours. It really gives you the overview and framework of the network of the cafes. And we have templates in there to help you just copy paste the program into your sort of your planning mode and planning method, I guess. So we have like ways to invite STEM speakers, and there's a lot of great information in the training. Also, you'll complete an implementation plan. So you'll think about sort of how you're going to meet with teens, how you're going to recruit teens, how you're going to actually host this program, where you're going to host it, when you're going to do it. You're going to have one-on-one planning meetings with Katie and myself. And here we're going to sort of walk you through sort of anything that we find in your implementation plan that maybe you need some clarification on. And then there'll be a post-training survey as well. So that's the sort of onboarding and training chunk. The next part of the program is to participate with your other cohort members. So all of the fellows are sort of going through this all together. Maybe you have a lot of experience with program planning. Maybe this is the first time you're sort of doing any kind of STEM programming or working directly with teens. Or maybe you just have a lot of expertise and you want to share that. So these cohort sessions, we meet, we gather, we share tips and tricks, and we do a little bit of just reviewing those Team Science Cafe values, as Kristen mentioned. We also ask that you attend at least 2 of our network professional development webinars. They're really awesome webinars hosted by well-qualified folk in the field. And they go over like marketing strategies to recruit teens to attend your programs, sustainability for your programs, the value of surveys. We also have an annual network, state of the network, where we sort of discuss the status of all of the cafes that are happening across the country. So you get to see the impact of what everyone's been doing. And the main requirement that we're always working towards throughout the year is to host these 3 cafe events for your audience. So you have until the end of May of 2025 to do that. Typically people have like a schedule of when they want to host it. You know, are you going to do one every other month? Are you going to do one in the fall, see how it goes? Adjust from there and then host 2 in the spring semester. However, the timeline works best for your organization and your audience is up to you. We just ask that you do those 3 events. Typically, it takes about 3 events to get a good group of core teens who are going to be helping you plan your programs, to get teen feedback, and just to get established. That's what we've seen from the past several years of research and evaluation. It takes about 3 cafes to really get your footing in. So while you're hosting those cafes, we're going to be doing, you will be submitting reports for each event. And this is all information that we are gathering to launch an online database. So if you were kind of stuck on an idea for a cafe, you could go on there and search and see what has been successful in the past. You're going to meet continually with Katie and myself for mentorship. We'd like to check in with after your events to see how they went, and to troubleshoot and just to bounce ideas off of each other if needed, and also to help you plan then for the upcoming one. Program surveys will be distributed for both yourself, the adult leader or the educator leading the program, as well as teen participants. We love to see the impact that it has on them in terms of gaining confidence in STEM, being exposed to a variety of STEM careers, and also the confidence that's grown as they sort of become involved in helping plan these events. And then there will be one last final meeting with Katie and myself after you've hosted your 3 events to plan the future of your program. We know that, you know, you graduate and you sort of like, hey, what's next? So we'd like to chat through that with you. We also ask that you submit at least 2 program photos with granted permissions that we would be able to use for social media, for our newsletter, et cetera, and for just general marketing purposes. And then you would also complete a member spotlight blog post. So like we like to highlight all the wonderful cafes that are around the country. So in addition to becoming a spot on our map, on our website, you would be highlighted a little bit more thoroughly with a blog post. And that's also then shared on our e-newsletter. So like I said, it's kind of a lot, but it comes in phases, and we walk you through it all. And those virtual cohort meetings are really great reminders just to kind of stay in touch and keep you going onto the path to graduation.
All right, so we know that was a lot of information, but also maybe not enough information at the same time. So the next steps after this, I think we do have some time for questions, before we wrap up here, but you will be receiving an email that have all of these slides attached to it that you could go back and reference, show your colleagues to. You'll get the link to the application, our Google form. Prior to filling that out, we will also have attached a printed version of it that you can read through, see the questions and what information is required upon submitting beforehand, before you go into that application. You will get our director's email. It'll come from our director, Katie Almond, so that you'll have her email if you have any more questions, would like to speak with us further, or have any concerns. You'll have that contact as well. But if before we leave, if anybody has questions, feel free to unmute yourself or drop them in the chat. We're here to answer and kind of help bring some clarity.
There is something in the chat here. The question is, what's the requirement or expectation in terms of how many teams we need enrolled in the program? That's a really great question. Do you want to, I can answer that.
Yeah, I could, yeah, that's fine. And then you could take the next one if you'd like. Really, we understand that especially with new programs getting off the ground, teen engagement might be on the low end. So really even 2 to 3 teams that are, starting out and are engaged and are gonna, work with you to help with these, we would consider to be pretty successful. Obviously, everybody hopes it would grow over time. But we're not necessarily looking for these, programs of 50 to 100 kids. That is a lot to ask of new programs starting up. So no, we're not looking for huge programs, just a few teams to start with. And then, with steps towards growing in the future would be, I think, perfect.
Yeah, I want to say the average is was about 8 to 10 in this current cohort, about teens for each cafe. And yeah. It depends sort of if you have a built-in audience already. Some were able to engage upwards to 20 per event. So can more than one person be an adult leader? Yes. However, there's only one stipend per site. So if you and your colleague want to do the training together, we did have that in this current cohort. What you do is you apply with the main person under the adult leader information, and then if you were to be accepted, we would just share the meeting links, etc., with both of y'all. So really, we don't really recommend more than 2, just because then it becomes a lot for meetings and things. Trying to meet with multiple people on your team to make those times work. But we saw success with co-leaders this year. But yeah, just one stipend per site.
We basically treat the two people as one unit, and we would meet with you both at the same time, and you would submit one set of materials. You would be considered one unit. Can the
Another
adult
good
leader
question.
be the science expert as well? Yes, definitely. The way these cafes are run is that every event ideally would be a different STEM expert, but you can definitely have your adult leader be one of them. I wouldn't necessarily say for all of them, but definitely for one of them, you could be counted as an expert. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, one of the anchors of this framework is engaging your community. And so when we say a science expert, we don't necessarily mean the professor with a PhD from your local university. Well, I'm sure they would be a great speaker. We also want you to reach out to your local city and see maybe if there's a worker from the public works department that could come and talk about any, working on city roads, reading water meters, treating water, things like that. So we kind of want you to think outside the box of a traditional STEM expert and start thinking of ways that you can engage and uplift sort of those everyday STEM folks.
Absolutely. What kinds of places, venues, or cafes are held? We have all kinds of different organizations. Just in the past cohort that is wrapping up from the last year, there are libraries, schools, after-school organizations, student support organizations. There are, in the network, we have zoos, aquariums, science museums, discovery museums. I mean,
There was one site that didn't have a venue, and what they did was they roamed in the city. So they were in Philadelphia and they met at different locations. Now they did have to figure out transportation. That was something that they ended up, renting a car for, or just telling people to drop off. So that is something to think about. They didn't have to necessarily pay for the venue, but they did have some expenses of covering cost of entry to that site. And in terms of if you're providing food or drink for them, pay for the venue. I mean, it's up to you how you want to set it up. Some people love to have like the cafe feel and just keep it like open and casual. And, the teams come in and they can sit and eat and chat and kind of welcome each other in the beginning. Or it could be a little bit more just pizza and speaker and you eat while you're listening, or something of that nature. So, and you can always consider food donations as well. It's not a requirement of the program, but we think that it adds like a cozy and welcoming element to the program. A lot of teens sort of need a place to go and would also love to have a free meal. So definitely an incentive for attendance.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So just looking at the chat, I see a couple of new questions come in. So I think Claudia kind of covered the food and drink. It's not, as she said, not required, but definitely adds to that sort of casual atmosphere. And sometimes it's a nice hook to draw your audience in. Teens love free food. And then for the venue room, that depends on your site. Some sites maybe already have a meeting room or an open space that they can use. Others might have to. I know there's at least one that works with a community center where they're able to use the community center room since they are doing a free event that they open up to the community. The center allows them to use the space. There might be something like that in the area. I see someone's asking about a pavilion at a park. If you have great weather, yeah, that'd be a great location. A lot of cafes do topics on the environment or on weather or, something local to them. Teens are usually very interested in those types of topics, and that's definitely a great way of getting kids outdoors and kind of engaged, more hands-on. So that could absolutely be used. There's really no requirement as to where you host your cafes. It's really more just the framework of, the teams having the leadership input. Is there a STEM focus, a STEM expert, and a hands-on activity? Those are sort of the legs of the chair, if you will, holding it up. Where it is, exactly how you structure it is very flexible because we want this to work for you and for your community. And every community is different. They have different needs. They have different interests. So really, we encourage you to kind of incorporate that and make it your own. So let's see. And what happens if the adult leader at a location leaves? I'll let Claudia answer this one, but I'm glad somebody brought that up. That's a good question.
Yes, and then we have one above it about the stipend that we'll get to.
Oh.
So it does occur in the field that folks leave, people transition in and out. You know, we ask that if you want to continue with the fellowship, you would find a replacement for the program. In one case, you know, whoever comes in to replace that person, they were able to just pick up the program and continue on. In some cases, there's a gap in hiring someone to take over. And so if your supervisor or maybe your site president or director were unable to take on that additional workload, then we would ask you to drop the program. We really want folks who are committed to this term of 10 months to complete the 3 cafes. And there's just limited flexibility with sort of ending it at that time. So we know that a lot of places, their busiest time is the summer, and we want to kind of have you finished by then. But yeah, it happens. And if it does, we'll do our best to make it work and keep your site involved. Katie, Amin, do you want to answer this question? It says, with the stipend, are we required to provide specific documentation on how funds are spent?
No, you're not. Our hope for these stipends is that they truly launch your programs. You're going to have all the things that you've been asking about are happening all at once. And this money is to help you juggle that in the beginning and truly have a vision for how this can stay at your site for many years, hopefully, but certainly more than one. That's our hope. And so we trust that you will use these funds for that, to help push that vision forward. So no, we don't ask for that kind of documentation. And if there is someone if there's a change in personnel at your site, again, it's how can we maybe get this going in our place? Like it probably won't be a great thing if you're starting out already knowing somebody might leave. So it's just something to think about going forward.
We also had a question about Spanish language. We missed that one. Yeah.
It absolutely could be done in Spanish if you have Spanish speakers. We don't have any language requirements. We actually have a group that's just finishing up this year where they had a Spanish translator for all of their events because their audience was primarily also Spanish speaking as well. So it absolutely can be done. You just might have to find a translator or act as one yourself or find experts that speak Spanish. But as far as we're concerned, I think that's wonderful, and it just opens up more opportunities for more people. Something we didn't touch upon quite as much because our time is limited with you today, but we are really hoping, to provide as many opportunities for these kids. Diversity is a big part of our core values of all types. So absolutely, yes, that can be done. And I see there was also a question about a homeschool cohort. We haven't had one yet, but I do think that would be a wonderful addition to the network. Really we're looking for, like I just said, providing new STEM opportunities for people of all different backgrounds. And some of the diversity includes different educational backgrounds or different ways that they come to science as well. So I think, yeah, absolutely. I encourage you to consider applying. Absolutely.
We do have a good majority of the students who attend cafes across the country are homeschool students. We just haven't had a cohort unto themselves just be homeschoolers starting a cafe.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we know, like, in terms of grade level, sometimes they go by reading level or, age even, as long as it's sort of within that realm of high school, is works perfectly.
Are there any cafes in Iowa? That would definitely be a Kristen question. And then
that's what I was thinking. Kristen
and then
knows
Claudia and
the
I can answer the
states.
second half of that.
Yeah, just one second. I don't think so. I'm just double checking to make sure that I'm right.
We had one.
We did have one.
Yeah,
Just
so
making sure that
as
they're
Katie Amin mentioned, the network's been ongoing for 15 years, and when the pandemic started, a lot of places had to close down. So
So we have a cafe that is in a paused phase and at the Blank Park Zoo in Iowa. I know that they did a cafe last year and that they are looking for more teen engagement. So if you're near the Blank Park Zoo, I can connect you with the person who runs that cafe, and you can have conversations with them or see how you can, maybe if you don't want to start your own cafe, help their cafe out as well.
And as far as working with retired teachers, are you asking if they could be experts or if they could be adult guides? Because as far as adult guides, as long as you have, location and and engaged teams, it doesn't matter if you're retired or not. I think that's immaterial to this program. But as far as maybe experts, we could chat further maybe about the background of the teachers as far as, I know a lot of teachers have science backgrounds, and maybe even went to college for science first or worked in science before becoming teachers. So I think there's some room to discuss that further down the line. Just looking in the chat. So is it better to keep the cafes at one location? As Claudia says, it's really up to your site. We've seen success, yeah, with both. So it's really just what works best for your group and your teams.
One of the critical things is keeping that group of teens that's your leadership group. That's more than where you're moving. It's that stability of those young people knowing about the program and wanting to go and having the leadership part.
I see your question, Linda, about launching a cafe in 2 different states. We might want to connect with that and kind of talk about that to kind of get more information about what exactly you are envisioning for that. That might take a little bit more time to kind of discuss out. So maybe reach out to Katie once you get that email, and we can kind of connect and go down that road with you a little bit. Any further questions about cafes? Oh, Katie just dropped her email in there, and she'll also be the one sending the follow-up email as well in the next day or two. So you'll definitely hear from us.
Okay, well, reach out if anything does come up. Or if you have questions or concerns regarding the application. Like we mentioned, you will receive a follow-up email after this webinar with those attachments and recording of this webinar. So if you needed to share it with someone at your site or to convince them to apply, we hope that you do that. And yeah, we're just very excited about this next year, and we're looking to expand the program. So nice to see so many STEM interested folks. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for attending.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you for your time.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you.